Okay, everybody, what's going on? Basically, this is a new campaign, Lamentations. Read the description, you'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. Bafli Dana, you don't know what time of day it is, nor do you know what day it is at all. It has been a long time since you've last been outside because you've been tortured for the last several weeks now. For the entirety of this month, ever since your shadow turned the color of blood, and ever since your shadow grew as long and as thin as a spear behind you. You've not been tortured in the sense that you've been wounded, that you've been stabbed. No, a saint such as yourself, such as a dragon wife, would never be treated like this. Instead, Bafridana, you've been submerged, just as you were years ago when you first had your very first moon's blood. You've been submerged in the blood of an irradiated dragon. And then, slowly, you are pulled out. You were given a bamboo shoot, and that bamboo shoot has been the only way you've been able to breathe, and they've let these odd fluids come down it occasionally to keep you alive, to give you nutrients. As you're pulled out by two older sister wives, these tall women, scarred women, women who have fought a lot in their lives and they haven't burned, and have killed more than one husband in their times as dragon wives. As you're pulled out of the blood, Bafridana, everything around you is dark. You're in this massive dome. The dome is black as night. There is no source of light, no torch, no windows, no nothing. And since you've been basically blindfolded now for what has surely been weeks, your eyes, you're not even sure how they still work. Tell me, Bafridana, as they pull you out of the blood, what are you thinking, having endured this for the last few weeks now?
Probably her mind is just blank of everything because all that strain on her mind basically made her mad. I can't imagine staying clear-minded during that torture, but slowly she takes in the voices or the sounds around her, and she tries to keep her breath calm and tries to keep alive, keep her mind clear, just staring into the darkness behind her veil, or she's veiled, right?
So you haven't been given your veil quite yet. In fact, so you're pulled by these two sister wives, and you're pulled out of this massive pool of blood. And then this is very quick montage. We see scene after scene. First, you're surrounded by lepers, and these lepers are cleaning the blood off of you. Next, you're surrounded by painters, and they begin painting your skin. And then next, you're giving this bowl of herbs. The herbs are set aflame underneath you, and they are the color of copper flames, as in they are green when you see them. And the smoke comes up, and as it does, and you breathe it in, and you smell what must be roses and lilacs and honey, the fog that your mind has been in, and that madness that you mentioned, is clearing away, as if you're being baptized mentally by this smoke. And then, still naked, we cut to the next scene, where you are in the depths, of course, of the ziggurat palace of the Dragon Wives. You're in this massive hall. To the left of you, there are statues of naked dragon wives, each one a famous one that you can name by name, of course. To the right of you, tapestries, or not so much tapestries as massive slabs of jade who have been sunburned that have these words written into them, these pictographs, these heliographs. And then before you, a woman. She is veiled from head to toe, but you know this woman just by seeing the single eye that she shows. And when you stare into that eye, you know her to be currently the head wife, Tatiana. And Tatiana looks to you and says nothing, but she reaches up with her hands and she takes off the veil, this black garment, and she holds it out for you to come take it. Do you approach? Do you take this veil from her, Bafidana?
I do, after hesitating a few moments.
Perfect. So as you approach her and you go to take this veil, you take it from her hands. She looks down to you, and she's old. Her skin is dark of complexion. Her hair is locked into dreads, and she is missing her other eye, the eye that was covered by the veil, the left eye. And she says to you, Baflidana, "You are now one of my sisters. Soon you will begin the second miracle. You will go with the rest of those in the expedition. You will go into the hanging garden of obsidian bells. Do not return if you are unable to survive there for a month, Bafredana, because if you cannot, you are not one of my sisters in true. Do you understand?
I do. I will do as you say.
And then she smiles, and she takes your chin and she lifts it and she says to you, "You've always been one of the most serious ones. Maybe you'll learn to laugh while in there too. Some girl or some man will teach you something about humor. But if not, you're still my sister regardless. It's been a
I
pleasure."
thank you.
"You're welcome, my sister." And then she lets go of your chin, and she steps back, and lepers come out from behind the slabs of jade, and from behind the statues of old wives, and they take the veil in your arms, and they throw it around your shoulders, and they begin to essentially dress you. And then we switch scenes. Shochil, you are moving through the place of open bellies, basically an omen market. People come here to have the entrails of creatures ripped out, so that way omen readers can divine them. It is with no exception. It is where you work. It is where you live for most of your days. You look around and you see very familiar faces. You see he who eats doves, right? You see he who eats doves has a horse before him, and he takes a tekpatl, an obsidian dagger, and he quickly he doesn't kill it, it's already dead, but he disembowels this horse, and he pulls out these fistfuls of entrails, and these three children are watching him. These three children with these jade feathers in their hair. And as they watch him with this glee and this amazement, and they're laughing, and some of them are even singing, he looks into the entrails and he begins speaking to them, telling them what their day will be like. Shochil, as you move through the place of open bellies, is this a working hour for you? What are you doing? What are you looking for here?
Sorry. I've maybe just finished up working for the day. And so I'm kind of spattered in blood, covered in it up my arms, because for most of the day I've been sifting through entrails, just sort of touching them, feeling the warmth and the bends and curves of them, and reading fate through these entrails. So now I'm kind of tired, kind of exhausted after a long day of sort of seeing all of these distant things. So I kind of wearily start passing through this area, saying goodbye to the others who I work with every day, and heading home.
I love it. Perfect. You wave here. You say goodbye to her. You say, basically, have a good day, a good rest of the night, to your coworkers, to your peers, and all that. And as you're walking, someone is staring at you. This child, of course, naked, staring at you from the alleyway between these two omen reading shops. And as they're staring at you, you realize they're not looking at you directly, but they're looking at your shadow. And you turn Shochil. And when you look at your shadow, what you see is that your shadow is getting longer and longer and longer. And slowly it's turning the same color, that same sanguine, that same visceral red as the various creatures that you've been disemboweling all day. You know what this means, Shochil. Everyone knows what this means. It means the god Gatekeeper Metatom has chosen you for the next expedition. You, an omen reader. You, a virtual nobody, just another working class person that lives in the heaven blessed. Tell me, Shochil, as you see your shadow changing shape and turning darker and then brighter and then the color of blood, what is your reaction?
At first, I probably don't believe that this is happening. I probably think that it's just some sort of trick, that, it's the hours getting late, the shadows are getting longer, and I've been surrounded in blood all day. So maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. So I turn around, and I stand and stare at the shadow, squinting my eyes at it for some time, watching it grow longer and longer, until finally I realize that this is actually happening. And I just sort of stand there dumbfounded, not really sure what to think about this. Part of me is thrilled that such a thing would happen to me, but then the bottom sort of goes out of my stomach as I realize what this means, and start to come to terms with this. I just continue staring at the shadow for some time.
And as you continue staring at it, of course, Shochil, you draw a crowd to you. The child noticed, another child notices, and then another child, and then maybe another omen reader, and then another vision keeper, and then there's people walking down the streets. You can hear the whispering all around you, behind you, and you can just see people forming ranks and looking at your shadow. And then you see someone else's shadow is also shifting into this long sanguine spear, and then someone else's and someone else's. And now there was open panic in the crowd, Shochil. There's open panic because these people are realizing they're being chosen for a suicide mission, that they're not prepared for this, that this is not what they were taught to do, that they ever wanted to do. And the scene skips ahead, for this was weeks ago when your shadow began to change. And now we are in the Gatherer's Lodge. This massive complex of buildings, all domed, some tiered as ziggurats, on the island close to yours, Shochil. It is the only building complex on this specific island, and you are inside of it. And inside of the Gatherer's Lodge, you see countless people from all walks of life. You see hummingbirds, the detectives, right? That make sure that order and investigation go right in the Heaven Blessed. You see people who man the walls. You see people who are, like I mentioned earlier, vision keepers and the other omen readers. You see tanners. You see hunters. And you see someone else, someone you don't know, but someone who I want to tell me how they're reacting right now. Tell me, Malimbas, how are you reacting now that you're here in the Gatherer's Lodge, now that you've been summoned for the same destiny as all the others?
Well, Malabas is quite dumbfounded. He's looking around, checking out those people that are destined to have the same fate as him. And he is looking around in a kind of disbelief, but a conscious disbelief. Like he knows he has to do this, and he is resigned already to do this, but he doesn't believe it is really happening. So Malabas basically just looks around, kind of out of place.
Perfect, I love it. So to set the scene for the three of you, because the three of you are gathered here, you are in the courtyard of the Gatherer's Lodge. What that means is you're in this massive place that looks almost half jungle, half city, right? There are these massive trees rising from the ground. There are various kinds of grasses and flowers all about you that even go as far as to crawl up the walls, to spine up the walls and the pillars and the statues. There are these feathered men, 3 feathered men, standing on this tiered plateau, and they are silent and they are watching over all of you. These feathered men you know to be gatherers, people who have went on expeditions before and came back alive. When I say they're feathered, they wear these headdresses and these accessories that come from their arms, and they wear these long robes over their shoulders, these cloaks with hoods, and these leathers underneath. They are silent and they answer no questions. But it's not them people are asking questions of, or even who demand the most attention. Bafridana, it is you who is demanding the most attention right now. You stand there, a veiled dragon wife, with 2 lepers from the temple at your side. And people are all just looking at you, staring at you, whispering about you. Because again, you're a saint in the Heaven Blessed. You're someone special. Bafridana, for a girl who hasn't left the temple in a long time, what is it like to receive all this attention?
It's scary, but she just stares straight ahead with a face of stone and doesn't show any fear or discomfort. But inside she's shaking. And if someone is maybe watching very closely, you can see her fingers and hand shake under the veil.
Perfect. I love it. I like to imagine, like, because it covers all but that one single eye of yours, that this eye looks almost fierce and determined, but in reality, Bafritana, you're just scared out of your mind. You feel the shivers and the goosebumps along your flesh. But that being said, besides you, Shochil, someone leans in, this big, tall man. He is pale-skinned and blonde of hair and thick of beard. And he says into your ear, Shochil, dragon wife here. So I think it really is for an expedition, but that's good, yes? Dragon wives are, they go on these things to protect us, huh? And how he's talking, the tone of his voice, Shochil, it's the sense of someone who's trying to talk to you, but they're really just talking to themselves to reaffirm themselves. Do you say anything back to him?
I look across at her and see this one fierce eye peering out from the veil with this sort of stony, fearless look. And I square my shoulders and I tip my chin up and turn to him and say, "Yeah, yes, of course. Someone like that, they're not afraid of anything. I mean, they bathe themselves in the irradiated blood of dragons. I mean, we'll be all right. But of course, I don't believe this myself either."
I like the idea that like everything you're saying is like half myth, like to the people at least. It's like all legend. And so he's listening to you and he nods his head and he says, "I never seen a damn dragon. Never want to see a damn dragon. Don't even know if there are damn dragons. So I don't think that she's anything special, and I don't think she's gonna actually be able to do shit to protect us." And Bafridana, you would hear this man speaking, him and Shochilla not far away from you. And when you hear it to you, what might as well be heresy, because you know these legends to be true, because you literally live them. Do you say or do anything?
Would that be, well, would that be, or do they expect that from me? That, I don't know.
The expectations that you would have on you, Bafridana, are that you are a religious figure, a protector, and also a murderer, but a murderer of the enemy, right? Of the Armageddon beyond the walls of the Heaven Blessed. So him talking like this, the doubt that he has in his voice is something that I think Bafridana, or at least maybe a more experienced dragon wife, would not accept. I don't know about Bafridana to be specific.
In that case, she would probably grab her. What's my? I take one of the spears from my back and I start walking very quickly in his direction. And if he doesn't move, I just slap the wrong end in his face. Just not to really hurt him, but to embarrass him in front of the crowd.
I love it. So you take off one of these spears. It'd probably be the lepers who are carrying your weapons for you right now, as a show of force, if anything. So one of the two lepers gives you a spear at your request, and as you stride over to him, this man's staring at you, confused and more than a little bit terrified. And Malino Boss, tell me, what is your reaction specifically when you see this dragon wife veiled just basically smack this man with the butt of the spear and send him sprawling to the ground?
I take a few steps back, for sure. Menelaus definitely takes some steps back and just tries to get away from the situation, because he believes the myths of the dragonflies and all the stories that surround them, but he doesn't want to clash with them just yet.
I love it. I love it. And the crowd itself all has this same reaction of backing away. Shochil, this man was right beside you, standing, talking. Now this man is on the ground, spitting out 3 bloody teeth. Shochil, what is your response?
I kind of like drop down to this crouch on the ground, looking up at the dragon wife with my head down, not daring to say anything to her.
So Bafridana, you have one woman who is now bowing to you, and you have this man on the ground spitting off teeth. He's rubbing off blood, and he opens his mouth to say something impertinent, right? Impertinent to you, something heretical to you again, probably. But then he looks up to you, and he sees your figure silhouetted against the half sun, and he says nothing. Bafridana, what do you do now that you've put this man on the ground?
I look to the person on the other side who is not kneeling yet in, expectation. Having seen Shochil kneel, which would be the right response, of course, in her mind.
Of course. And as your lone, fierce eye just kind of like scans the crowd briefly, people, not all of them kneel, but they will lower their heads and give you soft bows or start looking to the ground. Malno Boss, would you be doing this?
Yeah, I'm definitely bowing my head at least.
Perfect. And as you get this reverence from the people around you, the three gatherers standing on their platform all clap their hands at once. And then the one in the center, this old man with weathered skin, his cheeks wind-scarred, he steps forward and off the platform and he lands in a crouch. And as he rises back up, he says, "All of you have been brought here today for the reason that you can see very plainly." And he points to the ground where you can all see your blood-red shadows dyeing the grasses and dyeing the cobblestones. And he says, "And you," and he points to you, Bafredana, "have been the one chosen to come hunt on this expedition. But I will tell you this, dragon wife. I have hunted with many of your sisters before, and I can tell you that no sister who beats her expeditioners has a successful expedition. No bird who plucks the feathers of its own flock will ever return to the nest. I advise you, Bafredana," and he knows your name, which is something that you would not think that he would know. He continues, "And I remind you, Bafredana, to show more restraint with the people who will be watching your back for the next few months."
I hear your advice, she shouts back, but she doesn't nod or react in any other way, turning around, of course.
Perfect. I love it. As you turn, the leper who gave you the spear approaches and takes the spear out of your hand since you seem to no longer need it. He then snaps his fingers, the gatherer, and the rest of the crowd begins to stand and to look at him. And he addresses the crowd, saying, "My name is Shololas. I am the gatherer, a gatherer, one of many gatherers, a veteran. I have been on 4 expeditions in my life. This is one I will not be on. The first one I have not been on in the last decade. That being said, all of you will be the gatherers, and all of you will be trained extensively for what is to come. I know many of you do not want to do this. When I was a young man, before I lost my arm," and you realize then that underneath his cloak he moves it back and his right arm is missing. "Before I lost my arm, I too did not want to be a gatherer. My shadow turned the color of my own blood. It grew long like the spears that I used to make when I was a haft polisher. But gather I did, train I did, and to the heaven burned I went. Now this speech I am giving you, most of you, it will not have much of an effect. You will look to me. You will not believe the words I say. You will not believe the things you will learn over this next month. But you will come to appreciate in time your month here in my lodge, in the Gatherer's Lodge. If any of you have any questions, ask them now." And the crowd is silent. And before any of you could possibly answer or ask a question, the man who was talking to you, Shochil, stands up. And he shouts out through his bloodied mouth, "Why? Can we just leave? Can I just walk out of here? What happens if I don't do this?" And Shochil, as he sits beside you, what is your immediate reaction when he speaks up about his desire to flee? Do you support him? Do you just stay silent?
I stay completely silent. And in fact, I try not to look at him because I am afraid of getting in trouble, because I've been talking to him, and here he is standing there with blood streaming from his mouth after crossing this dragon wife, and I'm just a little bit overwhelmed by the situation. So I just kind of like turn my eyes away, looking at the ground, even though part of me feels like just standing up and bolting, and I want to know the answer to the question too, but I don't let this show.
I love it. Perfect. But the face of this gatherer, Shalol, is not one of anger. It's not one of a teacher reprimanding a student. It's one of sorrow. And he kind of bows his head slightly and he says, "No. There is no way out. If you leave here, Gatekeeper Metatam will kill you and take your soul. You will reincarnate and be reborn. Perhaps to the lady you've been talking to. Perhaps she will become your new mother. And then when you're of age again, he will turn your shadow red again, and then you will go out on another expedition." And the man is shaking, and he spits out more blood, and he goes quiet. And then Shalol scans the crowd again. And do you, Bafridana, or you, Malanobas, say anything? Do you ask him any questions, or you just wait to see what he does next?
Marinalbus is frozen in place. Literally frozen in place. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't move a muscle. He just waits and sees what happens.
Same here.
Having seen that his reaction is not quite as stern as she expected, so just sort of slowly raises her hand, half looking down at the ground.
Look to me when you raise your hand, young lady.
And she meets his eyes, and her eyes go wide, and she kind of she's clearly nervous about looking him in the eye, but she does anyway. And what happens if we come back, if we survive like you, then are we free, or will we
Surely, you must
being
have
reborn
seen them
and
before. You are not too young to have not been alive during the last expedition, or alive enough to see it. But when you return, should you return, you will be given midnight plumed feathers. And you know what that means, all three of you. That basically makes you an aristocrat in the city. Now, these midnight plumes are not like others. They will not last for long, except for Miss Bafridana's, who as a dragon wife is always midnight plumed. But for the rest of you, it will last for a while, a few months, and then you will go down back into eventually you are just jade feathers again, just normal common folk. But you will be rewarded. You will be given whatever pleasures you want to, whatever teas or opiums or peotals that you want, any flowers, any houses you want. You will not have to work if you don't want to. You will be able to live the life of the midnight plumed for months and months. Unless, of course, the gatekeeper himself decides that you are meant for another expedition. In which case, you will come to us gatherers, and we will officially induct you for what you are, and you will leave your job and work with us, and help us train the next expedition that you will be going on. I trust that my answer, miss, is satisfactory.
She nods and steps back.
Good. Now then, give them the feathers, organize them. And the other two gatherers on top of the platform jump down and begin moving through the crowd. And they're giving everyone either feathers or pieces of bird, as in like the actual bones. And as they're moving through the crowd, all three of you receive the same piece of bird. You receive the lower beak from a dead skeletal bird. And then once this is done, and the two gatherers return to the side of Shololol, he looks across the crowd and he says, "Find those who have the same piece of bird or the same color feather as you. Those will be the people you will be working with. Those will be the people you will be eating with, studying with, and learning with. And those will be the people you go into the Hanging Gardens with for your trial before the expedition. Go ahead, organize yourselves."
I look at my beak in my hand and I turn around, seeing the beak, the same one in the hands of the others. And I lift my eyebrow behind my veil.
So Jill takes the beak. She looks around. She sees that Bafridana and Malinabas are carrying the same piece. And she just sort of walks slowly over to them, looks down at it, looks up at them, and then kind of silently stands near them, not really quite sure what to do next, not really sure what to say to either of them.
Marinalbus just walks closer to people who have the lower beak and bows his head and says, "Marinalbus is my name."
I've heard mine.
So you threw it together, and like, would your characters persist in like this awkward silence amongst you three? Which is a justified silence because you have a dragon wife for you, the only dragon wife here, making the whole thing strange. Or would you talk to one another? Would you ignore someone else in the group? What are you guys doing immediately after gathering together?
Are we expected to go somewhere or
Not yet. You haven't been giving any orders from show
okay.
level. And you can see that the other groups, as they pair off or triple off or what have them, as they group up, they're talking and they're chatting, but they're not like no one's moving anywhere yet.
Malinabas is a glass blower, right?
Yes, I'm a mosaicist.
Okay.
I blow glass, I break glass, and I make art from glass.
I turn to him and I'm less intimidated by him certainly than I am by the dragon wife. So I say, I think I might have seen you in the marketplace before. You blow glass, don't you? It's, I've admired it before.
Thank you. My art is humble, but your Omer reading is also very good. I remember you as well.
Oh yes, I do my best. I really just speak what lies before me. But yeah, it's strange being here, isn't it? And I look at the dragon.
At Buffredana and say yes.
She's just standing there very straight and is looking from one to the other while they're speaking. Her eye just moving, not saying anything.
Creepy, as many dragon wives I think are when they're first initiated. Perfect. And as you guys kind of like the conversation dies down and Bafridana makes no effort to get to know you, one of the gatherers approaches your group. He has in his hands a ceramic bowl. It is dark ceramics, and it has been heliographed along the side of it. These strange pictures, these odd things, which if you do know how to read, which Bafridana would, and likely she'll chill. I'm not sure about Manibas, but if you do know how to read, what it basically is saying is it's saying the words Half-Sun Sintoltec again and again all around the bowl, which is one of the gods, of course, who lives in the High King's palace. Hanging from the bowl, off the rim, are 3 tukpato, these obsidian daggers, to ropes. And he walks up to you with this bowl in his hands, and you can see that there's wet blood in it, but not a lot. And he says, each of you, take a dagger and cut the one's wrist, who is directly beside you, to the right. And then take that cut wrist and bleed it into this bowl. Offering for God, we'll make sure that this expedition ends with us all coming back alive. And he holds up the bowl, and which of course the tech paddles hanging from it for you guys to take.
Who's directly to my right?
We're just gonna go in this order. So basically, it's gonna be to your right is Bafridana. To Bafridana's right is gonna be Mount Abbas, and Mount Abbas go to Shochio.
I look at Bafridana and I take the knife, and I'm not squeamish at all. I mean, I spend most of my day cutting open animals and wading around in their entrails. But the idea of cutting a dragon wife's wrist is a little bit giving me a little bit of pause. So I just sort of turn to her and hold my hand out towards her, holding the dagger, and wait for her to do something. Not just going to grab her wrist.
She sticks out her arm immediately for you to slice her wrist.
I kind of give her this look like, I kind of have to do this, and then I cut her wrist.
If that's the worst thing you will have to do in your life, I will have to kill my husband.
And I just sort of nod like, oh, that's nice. With sort of, not really.
Feels just like, yeah, okay.
As I carefully cut it so that the blood can drip into this bowl without causing her to just bleed out.
Perfect. And then Bafridana, the gatherer, looks to you, waiting for you to do the same thing to Mount Abbas.
She would try to just grab Malinalba's arm.
Sorry about the name, guys.
She's basically trying to get it done immediately and fast, efficiently.
Marinalba stretches his arm because, well, it's already cut a little bit because of glass. So he's kind of used to the cuts. So he just stretches out his arm.
Yeah, and she slices open his wrist and holds it over the bowl, nodding.
Perfect. And then once there is a satisfactory amount of blood for the gatherer, he looks to you, Malin Abbas, and he waits for you to do the same thing, lastly, to show Chill.
And I do it if there is an arm to cut.
Yeah, I hold my arm out and I'm kind of like looking at him skeptically, and I'm like, have you ever cut into a human body before? Just don't cut too deep and cut this way, a little nick. All right, and I hold my wrist out and kind of.
Marinalba's cut says, "No, I have." It's a quick cut, shallow cut, but it's a cut. Blood is dripping, and now he has cut into something living.
Perfect.
New experiences all around.
I like it all around. And as Shochio bleeds into the bowl, the gatherer reaches into his cloak and he pulls out, well, he doesn't pull out anything. When his hand emerges, his old scarred hand, his fingertip is covered in gold, this liquid gold. And he goes to your wrist first, Shochio, and he drags his finger along the cut. And when you would imagine the liquid gold to be molten and hot, it's cool, like ice. And it seals along the cut, giving you this golden scar along your wrist. And he does it to you as well, Bafridana, and then finally to you, Malin Abbas. And he says to you three, as long as this gold is here, you three have your lives bound to each other. If one of you kills the other, if one of you leaves the other, if one of you ruins the other two will suffer. As Hassan Sin told Tech, God has decided. And then he bows to all of you, and he begins to shuffle away. Do you guys say anything after this happens? Or do you just watch him just like kind of creepily / awkwardly, I guess, like shuffle to the next group? Oh.
I look down at my wrist and sort of run my finger along this gold kind of curiously.
Marinalba thinks, well, that would be a cool effect to have in a mosaic. That's it.
I'm just nodding, and actually in response to his words, she says, this is reasonable.
This is as things should be. I love it. So then, Shololas, after some time, claps his fingers again and indicates everyone to follow him. And we're going to skip forward some time. So in the next couple of days, the next few days, the three of you essentially live together. You sleep in the same room, along with the two lepers that Bafridana has with her, of course. You sleep in the same room on these grass mats, low on the ground. You eat the same meals together. You're basically around each other all the time. So tell me, specifically you, Bafridana, at any point would you try and reach out to the other two people that's part of like your conclave, I guess you would call it? Or would you stay frosty for now?
I think she would stay frosty because she's not really interested in the others as long as they do their job and we come back alive. This is just waiting for the fight, more or less, to her. So she's just biding her time.
All right. So Bafridana remains silent for the most part the next few days. At least that is until we come to maybe 5-6 days later. And we're in a very particular lesson. The three of you are in a room, and there is an old gatherer there. The old gatherer to his left and to his right has these two jade like bar grills, right, that cover the walls, that lead into these tunnels. He's sitting there down cross-legged. The three of you are sitting here by Shololas, of course, for the day's lesson. And as you enter into this room, maybe 40 by 40 feet in terms of like width and size, but only maybe 20 feet tall, Bafridana, the feeling you have is hard to understand because you haven't been given this feeling a lot. It's a mixture of sexual arousal, intense anger, bloodlust and the need to break something. And you know, Baflidana, that there is something draconic behind one of these two cage doors down one of these tunnels. The gatherer sitting cross-legged looks up. And Baflidana, how are you reacting to these impulses and these emotions exploding through your body right now?
I'm getting up slowly, and I almost sniffed the air, looking to each of those three tunnel entrances and or compartments, and then her head just flips over to him, looking questioningly with one eye, which is hard. What is this about?
And as you ask that question, Shochil, you're used to smelling that smell of decay, right? Of viscera, of guts spilled open. And you smell that smell now stronger than you have in a long time. But it has like a putridness to it, right? A weird metallicness to it. It's not like copper or like blood, but like something thrumming with energy. Shochil, how do you react as you smell this smell, and then Baflidana strangely begins to aggressively question this gatherer sitting before you?
I sort of look around and I'm like, something is dead here. Something has been spilled open, but it smells strange. What are we supposed to do? What's going on here? And I kind of like reach for the obsidian dagger at my hip, looking around, kind of my body growing tense.
Perfect. I love it. Little boss, you hear your two companions speak out. Do you say anything, or do you just watch?
I kneel, not in a kneeling like staying position, but in a position to be ready to leap, a position that demands action, so of some sort.
Perfect. I love it.
I see the aggression, and I just crouch to be ready for anything.
The camera shifts over to this gatherer, and you can't see the top of his face. It's shrouded by his hood. But you can see the weather-beaten lower half of his face, and he smiles. And when he answers you, he says, "This is not like the other lessons you've had so far, children." And this is like this minor flashback where we see what the last week essentially has been like, where the lessons have been very academic in nature. There's a teacher gatherer. He has some kind of lesson plan. He tells you what the heaven burn is like, the different environments, different creatures, the threat of radiance, all this other stuff. It all feels very comprehensive, but also very incomplete, if that makes sense, as if you're learning something you have to experience. And then we cut back to this situation that you're in now. And he looks up, and you see that he has no eyes and no nose. In fact, his nose has been torn off by something, and you can see the open gap, and his eyes have been gouged out, and he wears a blindfold over them now. To Bafridana, who lives with lepers, who works with lepers, this is not something that's new. But to Shochil and Malnabas, this is something that I imagine is not frequently seen in the Heaven Blessed, and is not a sight that you want to see for your teacher. And then the gate behind him, the most immediate gate to his left, swings open. And that feeling inside of your chest, Bafridana, gets stronger. And that smell for you, Shochil, gets even more pungent, even more potent. And he says, "None of you have ever seen a drake before, have you? One of the demi-dragons of the heaven burned."
I immediately stretch out my arms to the left and to the right, waiting for a spear from my two lepers.
I love it. One leper puts a spear in your hand. The other one, as they do that, they tear away your veil, revealing your naked and half-painted body underneath. And as that happens, the gatherer begins to chuckle. "Well, one of you's already ready at least. Yes, this will be the lesson for the day. Kill the drake, if you can, or at least survive it. It'll be the first of many you'll see." And he indicates with his head for you to head down the tunnel, the dark tunnel, the tunnel lit neither by torch nor by window, that is just filled with this thick, slimy darkness. What do you three do?
So, I mean, I have experience, I guess, with hunting ordinary animals, but I've never really tangled with anything that could really fight back. So I draw my bow and I knock an arrow to it. And on the one hand, this movement's kind of fluid and practice. I'm used to having a bow in my hand. But on the other hand, the situation is completely alien to me. So I hang back well behind Bafridana, with the bow ready, with the arrow knocked, clearly nervous, but moving kind of as quietly and gracefully as I can.
So you begin to move forward, Xochitl, and the gatherer is just chuckling, almost giggling to himself as you guys do so. The entire atmosphere is very wrong. You have this creepy, noseless, eyeless, blindfolded man basically ushering you in to face something that has killed so many before, something that's only rarely seen inside the Heaven Blessed when it's brought back from an expedition to be eaten and torn apart. But Bafridana, as he beckons you three down that tunnel, do you just charge in ahead? Or do you do something else?
Did I hear anything from in there, or is it only that feeling?
It's only that sixth sense you have inside you right now.
I would go in but not charge, and I would try to listen to get a feeling for my surroundings. I mean, it's probably very narrow, so I try to hear it in the distance.
Perfect. So you put your ear, I imagine, like, not you put your ear to something, like you lean your head into this corridor. And when you do so, you hear with you listen with the hearing of a dragon wife, which is the same as being able to hear the heartbeats of your friends, which you can hear just behind you now. And you can hear the blood rushing through their ears, not your ears. But when you listen through the corridor, you hear what may be the flickering of torches. Yes, definitely the flickering of torches. The falling of ash and soot from the torches. But you don't hear, no. You do hear suddenly, like a thunderclap, a single heartbeat. Not another heartbeat, not a second or a third or a series of heartbeats, but a single heartbeat in the depth of this corridor.
I hear it, and I stand straight again at the brink of the tunnel, and I whistle, not loud, just once, and then I step to the side, just giving it, when it's coming, hopefully, just the plain view of my two companions.
And when your two companions look down there, it's pure blackness, and nothing responds, Bafridana. Nothing emerges from the darkness. Malnabas, what are you doing as you watch all this happen?
I grab a spear and a dagger, one in each hand, and I drop 5-6 spaces behind Bafridana, just so I can be ready, but not the first one to die. And that's my stance.
Is there anywhere here to hide?
Right now it's just a corridor. So you guys haven't went through the corridor yet, so you're not sure what's on the other end.
All right.
There is still nothing moving, right? So correct. I only heard that one heartbeat.
Correct.
That's all.
But if you wait long enough, after another minute of time, you would hear a second heartbeat eventually.
Is there a torch on the wall or something in our room?
It is nothing. It is pure abyss all the way. Well, there's torches inside the gatherer's room, so you could take one out of the scone from the lesson room if you wanted to use it to light the way through the corridor.
Yeah, I will do that.
Right.
I hold it in my left hand, and I then step into the corridor.
Perfect. So you take it out on the sconces, and the lepers are behind you, of course. And as you look around the walls and the ceiling and the floor, you see scratch marks on the cobblestone. And you see this strange black, almost dusty, viscous blood just everywhere, painting the walls, painting the floor. When your bare foot touches it, it turns to dust. But only when your foot specifically, Bafridana, not the other two. The other two, it's like you're walking through sludge.
Does that only happen with a dragon, or does that happen with draconics?
It'll happen with a draconic anything. Well, at least that's what you've been taught by your sister wives.
I would actually say not turning around, and just whispering, be careful, as I step further into the darkness, or now illuminating the darkness.
And the other two of you just follow? Alright, perfect. So I like to imagine the camera is following your feet, Baflidana. As you move lightly, of course, as you've been trained to do by your sister wives. Every time you touch one of these viscous black puddles of ichor, it turns the dust into ash, and it spirals around your foot. And so basically everything below, like halfway down your legs, is just black and gray in color. And slowly the camera moves up, trailing up your thigh, then moving to your back to look over one of your shoulders. And you can see a light at the end of this corridor, a gray light. Do you do anything, or do you keep on moving?
I'll leave the torch. There's nothing burnable around, right? I would just leave
put it on the ground.
Yeah, I would put it on the ground and then continue slowly and stealthily, or as stealthily as possible.
There we go. I love it. So you continue to move forward, and you get closer until you can see what that light actually is. You see at the end of this corridor is you don't know what shape the room is, but there are beams of sunlight, or of half sunlight, I should say, coming in from the top, and just illuminating these massive piles of ash that you see cover everything through the snapshot of a doorway you have into this room. Will you continue walking until you're fully in the room, or will you wait? What will you do?
I wait for a moment, just looking if something is moving or not.
So you lean forward, and your ears perk up, and you can hear the soft susurrus of ash sliding over ash. You hear the whispers of these dunes slowly getting bigger and bigger by something, and then you hear that heartbeat. But unlike before, which is a single heartbeat, you hear a second heartbeat directly with it, a continuation, but then again, silence. It's as if this thing's heart is beating faster, maybe, or just beating more frequently the closer you three get. Or five, I should say, including your lepers.
Would I know if it feels me too?
You as a dragon wife would know that things that are draconic, specifically drakes, can kind of pick up and sense when you're nearby.
Oh, good. I'll look back to the other two if they have already run.
So you two are none the wiser of what Bafridana is hearing, right? But you do see those ash dunes through this doorway in this room with the sunlight spears. So what do you other two do? Shochil and Malanabas.
There's like a door frame there, like a doorway. And how far away are we from this doorway?
I'll say you're maybe 20, 25 feet away from it.
All right. I just continue along, but with the idea that basically once Bafridana passes through the doorway, if she does, that I'll sort of hang back by the doorway so that I have a little bit of cover from whatever might be through the door, so that, hopefully whatever it is won't immediately see me. I'm kind of trying to keep to the side of the hallway as I move down behind her.
I'm keeping my position in relation to Bafridana, so I'm keeping like six spaces behind her, but I'm kind of shaking right now, a little bit, because I don't know shit. I can't hear anything.
Perfect. I love it. So then, Bafridana, one of your comrades, the woman Shochil, is essentially slinking along the wall. The other one, Malabas, is watching and waiting for you to do something. Will you go through that doorway, Bafridana, and enter into whatever this place is?
I do, and I slowly step a little bit to the right, just in case Chochil has to lose an arrow, that I'm not in the way.
I love it. The moment your foot, both feet, touches the ash, roll me a d6. You have a 4 and 6 chance of succeeding. Counting upwards, so 1 through 4 success.
2.
2. Perfect. So you walk into the room. You see this room is a massive half dome. You see that at the top of the room there are these windows. Well, not really windows. These openings through which the sunlight comes in, and you can see that there's torches at the top of these openings. That's where the ash is coming in and blowing around. And then the dune directly behind you as you step out of the doorway, or rather to your right, explodes. And you're covered in ash, and you're covered in soot. And Shochiel, you see it, and it blinds you. And it even pushes backwards into the quarter that you guys are in. And then this weight that you can't see, Bafridana, smashes into your body, but almost reflexively. In fact, you can tell me this. Tell me, Bafridana, how do you keep this thing that you can't see from taking off your arm?
I would imagine, being trained by my sisters, I would feel that movement coming closer and just trying to spin back, spin away to the side, even maybe at the right exact same moment when it wants to tear off my arm.
Perfect. I love it. So here's what I want to say. Nico's having computer issues, but that's fine. The ash just gets thicker and thicker, and you both lose track of where basically everyone else is, including yourselves. Bafridana, your muscles swell with strength, an unnatural strength, and your skin grows harder and harder. You're currently under the first tier effect of your Dracocide feature as a dragon wife. So that'll be like the resistance to damage and the additional attack and all that. And you can't see anything. Neither one of you can see anything. So please, both of you, roll me initiative, and then just voice off with what you have, and then we'll go from there.
Initiative was D6, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a D6.
God, it's been a long time. 3. Oh, hang on.
5.
3 and a 5. Perfect.
No, 4. 4, sorry.
All right. So this is a massive churning cloud of ash. No one can see anything. Shochiel, I like to imagine that you're probably coughing on the ash and soot, right? As it fills your lungs and your nose. Basically, to your perception, she stepped out, and then there was an explosion of sound. You hear this low hiss fill the air, and then just nothing because of all the soot in the air. So tell me, Shochiel, what is your reaction as you're first in the initiative order?
All right. Well, I kind of press myself against this like doorway, trying to clear my lungs of all this smoke and this ash that's filling them, still coughing and choking. And then I kind of like crouching there next to the door, kind of like push my head through the doorway, try to look inside and get some idea of what's going on in there, whether I can see anything that a threat or Bafridana or anything.
So you hear this low hissing, and you stick your head deeper into the doorway. The sunlight offers a little bit of visibility, but not much, as it's basically like walking through a mist of ash. You have a 1 in 6 chance, 1 being a success, of being able to see where at least Bafridana is.
Oh, that's a 1.
Perfect. So you see maybe 10, 15 feet away from you. You can see the female figure of Bafridana. And then you feel behind you the 2 lepers as well. They have not entered into this room, which you can't see the construction of it whatsoever, right? Just how thick of a haze it is. But you see Bafridana, and you see that she's facing something, or rather her figure is facing you. And then you feel something behind you by maybe 10 feet away. Shochiel, what will you do when you feel that thing behind you?
I immediately whip around with my bow and arrow aimed at the thing, whatever it is.
Perfect. So you're making an attack?
Depends on what I see when I turn around.
When you whip around, you just see this massive hulking silhouette in the ash. You can't see any details, no defining features, but you do hear the wet hiss that comes from its mouth.
It's not me.
Sounds nasty. I'm going to shoot it.
All right, bet. So you're going to be shooting with a -4 penalty?
Oh, God. All right. Okay, well, that's a 17 -4 plus 2 for my ranged attack bonus, so 13.
13. You fire
Oh, wait a second. No, not 13. 15, sorry.
Perfect. I love it. You fire the arrow. I like to imagine the camera follows it as it travels through this ash storm that you're now inside of. And as that camera follows it, We see briefly what this thing is. We see this reptilian eye with this long, long slash of a pupil set inside this green jade colored iris in white. And you see these scales black in color, and then the ash closes over it, and the arrow misses the target. As it happens, Baflidana, you see this silhouetted thing, and you can feel that your heart is beating so fast that it might as well be breaking your ribs inside of your chest, right? And you can feel the arousal growing so strong, and that with that arousal comes that bloodlust and that anger and the desire to break what you see, this massive silhouette. So what do you do on your turn, Baflidana?
You don't suffice as a husband, and I attack it with my spear, jumping at it.
Perfect. So as you jump through the air, you jump this almost incredible distance, really. The ash breaking before you, and you can see this thing clearly, as if you had a supernatural sight, just sharpening its features for you. So you'll make your attack roll, as per normal.
Oh, 12.
12. So you slam your spear into the ground, and as you do so, you just basically you kick up more ash. You've missed this thing. It's backed away and turned in a weird angle and is moving around you, and you can no longer have a clear gaze on it.
Damn it.
Do you have a second attack when you Draco side at tier 1 or no?
I don't think so. I don't know. Oh, I do actually. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I pull it out of the ground immediately and try to stab it again. Oh, damn it. Well, it's my first fight, so no.
Perfect. So you swing your spear through the ash cloud that you've now kicked up and you cut through it, but when you stare through the wreckage of what you've created, you see nothing, and you don't know where this Drake, this demi-dragon, has gone. And now it is the demi-dragon's turn. It is moving, slinking throughout these ash dunes that have been created in its room, this layer created for it by the gatherers. And then, Baflidana, roll me a 4 and 6 chance again.
A 1?
A 1, perfect. You're going to take 4 points of damage, which halved against you is going to be 2 points of damage, as this massive weight smashes into your side and shoves you into the stone walls to your left, right, of this half-dome room. You feel that the force of it literally makes the walls crack, and you can see these cracks spiderwebbing throughout the cobblestone. But to a dragon wife who is in her almost awakened state right now, the pain to you is almost nothing.
And you hear laughter coming from her out of that dust cloud.
Perfect. I love it. So, Melano Boss, you open your eyes. You were temporarily knocked out. You were knocked out just by the sheer fact that when this explosion of ash happened, when Baflidana went into this room through the doorway, literally rocks exploded around you, smashing you in your skull, laying you out completely. One of the lepers shakes you, and you open your eyes, and you can see this leper's bandaged face hovering directly above you. There's ash and soot in the air, and it's extremely thick. You cannot see more than 2 or 3 feet out beyond you, but you hear the laughter of Baflidana and the hissing of some great creature. What do you do?
I have my spear. The spearheading hand is close by, at least. Then I try to throw it in the direction of the hiss I heard.
Perfect. So you're still inside of the corridor, and you don't know what's happening beyond the corridor. So when you throw your spear, you're taking a -6 to your roll. Huh?
Then that is 13.
Perfect. You throw your spear, and it goes hurtling out of your hand, and the camera's just looking over your shoulder, and you don't even hear a thunk. You don't even know if your spear's hit anything, or if it's just landed somewhere in a pile of ash. Needless to say, you have missed. Will you move forward as well, or will you stay inside this ash-choked corridor?
I'm moving forward.
Perfect. You move forward, and Shochill, it is now your turn. Shochill, you've heard about the Heaven Burned, the place, the Armageddon, the ruins of heaven outside the Heaven Blessed. the great ash pits that stretch out and cover literally the entirety of the world that is a mountain or murdered forest of Pyre City. And you realize now that this room has been created as a recreation of the heaven burned, right? And you're standing here and you can see literally nothing. And that's when the lesson becomes clear to you, Shochil. The lesson becomes clear that this is what it's like to fight something inside the heaven burned. You can barely see in front of you. You don't have stable footing. And bullshit is literally exploding from the ground in the dunes and tearing you guys apart. So as you have that realization, Shochil, it is now your turn. What will you do?
All right. And I don't see this creature anymore. I don't see anything. I'm kind of just in this haze. So I kind of still, I draw my next arrow and knock it. But I don't really have anything to aim at. And I'm really disoriented. So I just kind of, once again, sort of try to press my body up against the wall, hoping that somehow this will give me some protection from whatever is just, rampaging through this place and knocking Buffredana around. And I just kind of focus on trying to see if I can figure out where the thing went.
Perfect. I like the imagery of you're stumbling around through the ash. Some of these dunes are higher than you expect, so you trip or you fall, or you have to move on all fours before you stand back up and get your footing. But no matter where you're disoriented now. So you got a 1 in 6 chance of success of moving basically as you're trying to move. So go ahead and roll that for me.
Yeah, no.
Perfect.
Nope.
You don't know where you're at. You can feel sunlight coming from above, and when you look up, you can see a little bit of more brightness above you, but otherwise you're completely disoriented with where you are. Buffredana, you're much the opposite. You're like a laser-focused hunting monster right now, right? You feel this great drake pull itself off of you, and though you still can't see its form, you can see its silhouette. What do you do, Buffredana?
Do I still have my spear?
Spear is still in hand.
I grip it a little bit more securely, and I stare at that silhouette in front of me, almost aiming in my head before I start a charge. So,
perfect. I love it. So go ahead and roll your
getting
attack.
a +2?
Yeah, I'll give you a +2 for it.
Good. Okay, please. Okay, that's much better. That's a 17 then.
Perfect. You're how do I describe it without using movie terms? Fuck it. If you've ever seen Wonder Woman, remember the scene where she tackles a tank? That's essentially what you are right now. You're literally this force of nature, this human-sized avalanche, as you smack into this massive wall of scaled meat that you can't even really see. So roll your damage for that.
So I get 1d12 plus 1d12, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, 4. That's 15.
Perfect. I love it. When you strike this thing, you feel it gives way to not only your spear, but to your entire body. And you feel blood and viscera covering you, right? It covers your face. You hear the cracking of bones. You hear this long, shrill cry, this death rattle. And then you're standing there, and then you look to your left and you look to your right, and you realize you're standing in the middle of this creature, and both halves just fall away from you into the ash, kicking up even more of it. We're out of initiative order, and slowly does the ash begin to settle. And as it does so, that gatherer is revealed to be in the middle of this domed room, sitting on top of one of the dunes. Excuse me. He has his hood thrown over his head, and he's sitting cross-legged, and he looks to you, Buffredana, and then he looks to you, Shochil specifically, and he nods his head to the ruin around Buffredana, and you can see the Goldrake. Its face is taut to the skull underneath, as if it hadn't eaten in months or years, or perhaps if it was dead and it had come back to life somehow, though you know that's not to be true, that's impossible. It has 4 limbs, of course, nearly 17 feet long, nearly 10 feet tall, this massive monstrosity of black scale, just irradiated flesh. And standing in the center of its ruin is Bafridana. And the gatherer points to the entrails around her and he says, "Do you think that you can read those entrails, Omen Reader?"
Oh, there are entrails. But I am a little bit hesitant about touching the blood of the thing. But I step forward and kind of, rather than touching it as I normally would, I just sort of peer into the entrails, trying to see what I can gather just from gazing into them.
Perfect. As you do so, the gatherer's gaze flickers over to my little boss. And my little boss, as you can see around the room now, do you say anything? Do you do anything? Or do you just stand there and watch what happens next?
I can see the Drake falling, right? Dust has settled. I tried to see if my spear hit it, just to see if it contributed to something.
You look around for your spear and you see it half buried in an ash stone. It never was even close to hitting it.
Hey, got room for improvement at least.
As you can see, fighting inside of the Heaven Burned will be much like fighting in this room. Ash everywhere, kicked up by the winds. Entire dunes the size of buildings, the size of ziggurats, will disintegrate and cover the area for miles. You won't be able to see. And without this one, and he points to you, Bafridana, without this one, you will be slaughtered. But, Dragon Wife, you fight foolishly, possessed, drugged. As a saint, I don't understand truly myself, but tell me, Dragon Wife, if there were more than one of these creatures, how would you have protected your two fellow expeditioners, so focused on this one as you were?
I appreciate your lesson, though I can feel them. It was only one.
Yes, you can feel them. But what if this only one had attacked the others? Ghoul-drakes, as you will learn. They are ambush predators. They pretend to be dead. They slow their heartbeats, and they hide underneath dunes. You may be able to sense where it was, but I watched you, Bafridana. It caught you by surprise from behind. And you did not even warn these two that it was even there.
Had I known that they were attacked, I would have known where it was. They know the danger.
So Jill sort of
go ahead.
Squares her shoulders, and she looks much more bold than she has before. She kind of looks up from studying these entrails and shakes her head. Excuse my boldness, but what are we even here for? Are we just here to distract these things for long enough for her to tear them in two? I mean, you saw us. We were useless. We're always going to be useless. We're not fighters. We're not warriors. We're not like her.
Silence, woman. Silence shall chill, I believe. You are training to become a gatherer. Yes, you are useless now. You're like a babe who doesn't know how to breathe, let alone feed itself. You're like a babe thrown to the wolves and the hyenas and told to survive. Of course you will die if you fight these things. That's why you must learn how to be more effective, how to be more efficient, how to be more creative, unless you want to become like me and lose your nose and your eyes as I have, Shochill. No, you're not here to distract them. You're here to hunt, to find supplies and resources, to read its entrails to see what you can learn, but most importantly, you will have to find a way to survive when survival is not easy. If you cannot kill it with your own two hands, how can you help that dragon wife kill it faster? How can you keep yourself from becoming lost and wandering away from the expedition and being slaughtered? Because I watched you too, Shochill, and you wandered amongst these dunes as if you had no eyes, as if you were more blind than I am.
She just bows her head and says nothing.
Regardless, read those entrails. And roll me a d6. Because you're not touching them, you have a 3 and 6 chance.
Alright. That's a 1.
A 1, perfect. As you read these entrails, you've never read the entrails of a drake before. right? You just haven't had a chance to. Some omen readers who are famous, who are midnight plumed, have from expeditions, but you haven't. And so it's like, actually, no, I want you to tell me this, Shochil. When you normally divine a future or a divination from something, what is it like?
Yeah. So I sort of usually I kind of gaze into the entrails for a while, and they're sort of inert before me. But as I put my hands on them, in them, and sort of feel this warmth and smoothness on my hands, then it's almost as if my hands know where to sort of move these patterns around, so that it almost looks to me, as I kind of stare at them, as if they're curling around my hands like tendrils of smoke, and then sort of everything around my vision goes dark, except for this sheen of these entrails sort of twisting and moving inside of my hands, and then they sort of begin to coalesce into patterns that tell me something about the fate of the person I'm reading for.
So you're reading these entrails, and though you're not touching them, to your vision, not to you, Baflidana, not to you, Manabas, but to your vision, Shochil, the entrails are moving and writhing like snakes before your gaze. And they begin to assemble themselves and then disintegrate and then assemble themselves again. And you can see that some of them are turning to dust from being so close to Baflidana's feet and legs. And then you see in that dust, you see a wall, a broken wall. And you see that wall is tilted over the dust that is forming. And you see in the blood of the entrails, you see the reflection of something. You see the reflection of a tower, a tilted tower that's sinking into the ash and the dunes. And then you see an entrance to that tilted tower at the very top of it that leads to something within. And then you blink your eyes and your vision returns to normal and you're just looking at entrails again. And that is your divination.
I've seen a place. A broken wall in the dust, a tilted tower, a reflection, an opening. Do you know what this means? And I look to the gatherer.
The gatherer, his smile falls away and he says, "You've seen a pious city somewhere. Probably one you will end up going on this expedition, should you survive, or these two survive." You know, a pious city is a ruin of an old city, ruled by old opal kings once upon a time, that had been buried basically in ash and basically completely destroyed by the non-stop Armageddon. And you know that pirate cities are places that gatherers need to go because that's where the most supplies can still be found and harvested from.
Yes. If I were not experienced in my craft, I might say that this gives me some optimism that we might survive long enough to make it there. But I know that these kinds of things can change and shift. They're as malleable as the entrails that I read. So
Perfect.
I sort of sigh and step back, shaking my head.
And as you do that, Baflidana, as the dust of the slowly disintegrating ghoul drake around you kind of spirals around you, that strength that was so strong, that's so redundant, that strength that was flowing through your veins, right, like a rushing river through canyons, begins to die down. And once more you feel just like your normal self. No more arousal, no more anger, no more bloodlust. Just you're back to being Baflidana. Do you have like any kind of like visual show for as you begin to basically power down?
She probably almost buckles under the weight of normalness just for a second, and then she just steps back, nodding to Chochil and Mal, and turns around to her two lepers, awaiting the veil to be draped around her again.
Mm-hmm. One leper appears, and they have a bowl of water, and they have a rag in the bowl, and they begin to wipe the drake blood from your body. And then the other one comes with a veil and throws it over your shoulders. And the leper whispers to you, "You should not let them see you so much. You should not let them see you until you go into the heaven burned. It is not your wedding night yet, my wife."
I didn't hear the first thing. Sorry. What was?
She said that basically she was whispering to you, saying that you should not let these other two see you so much until you're actually honeymooning with one of your husbands to kill.
I nod again, whispering back. I couldn't help myself.
The lepers don't respond, and they completely adorn you in your veil. And the gatherer stands, and he's moving past you, 4, 5 now, and he says, "That's an end for today's lesson. Your next lesson will be even harsher than this one. Remember," and he looks to you, Shochill, "you are useless. Make yourself not that way." And he looks to you, Malbas, and he nods his head and just keeps on moving. And you three are left inside of this massive ash-filled room. What do you people say to each other? Do you just leave in silence, or do you stay there for a while?
So Chill kind of just frustratedly kicks at the ash on the ground in front of her, just sending a cloud of it up into the air, and then shakes her head darkly and goes walking off without another word to the others.
I think Malbas will take a little bit more time to grasp the lesson. So he just stands silent and starts walking out of the room.
Afridana?
She would just she doesn't say anything more. Hearing her laugh during the fight was basically the most or the biggest expression you probably heard from her since you know her. So she just walks up to one corner and actually turns the back to the others and is meditating probably about the lesson itself.
Perfect, I love it. And the camera is going to lower from you as you go into your meditation, Balfridanis. And it stares into the gray of the ash beneath you. And it zooms in until that grayness becomes white, and then that white becomes black. And then eventually it peers back out. And that blackness was the inside of the mouth of this serpent-shaped statue. And this statue is a part of many statues that forms this giant gate. This gate is framed by nothing but pure force, just surging out, blossoming from it, like a cobra's hood does. And behind that gate, you can see nothing but more and more trees and more forest. You know what this is. This is a gate into a hanging garden. One of those places that the blessed go into to hunt creatures and to come back out and to provide the people that have been blessed with food, with leathers, with tanned hides, with with like seeds and crops and flowers and fruits and all that stuff. You specifically, Shochill, will be very familiar with this because it's where your supply of animals comes from for your omen reading. You stand before this massive gate with the rest of your expedition. There is maybe 30 or 40 people here with you, and there are 3 gatherers before the gate. We've moved ahead in time by quite some bit, by 2 more weeks, and you've all undergone countless lessons about what it's like to live inside of the heaven burned for a long length of time. You've learned more about draconic radiance. You've learned a little bit more how to survive and how to make shelter when an ash storm hits you. You've learned about all the different environs and what to look for there. And now it has come for the final test. And Shololol is standing there at the center of these 2 gatherers beside him, and he says to the entire crowd, "This is how we will know if you are ready to become gatherers or not. You will go through these gates and enter into the hanging garden. For there you will remain for 30 days, hunting, killing, surviving. If you can survive with no supplies for 30 days inside of this paradise," as it is, only then will we be able to call you gathered as and true, and only then will we know that you will be able to survive in the heaven burned. This will be a miracle. It will take a miracle for you to live. Now then, no more questions, no more comments. And he steps to the side. And before you three are ushered in, we have a quick flashback to what the other 2 weeks were like. At any point, Xochitl, would you have ever approached Baflidana and tried to talk to her, or would you have kept kind of brooding on the lesson that was forced into your head by the Gatherer?
Yeah, I mean, the brooding probably wouldn't have lasted long. I think in the moment I was just kind of embarrassed by having been dressed down, and then also having like this kind of feeling of utter uselessness kind of, ingrained in. So probably I would have taken this to heart and have become much more, even more serious about paying attention to the lessons and training, because it was kind of, eye-opening for me, just how coming to terms with just how difficult this would actually be. And I probably would have made some attempt to talk to Bafridana, probably just, small talk, mostly trying to see if she would respond to anything that I said to her.
So we'll cut to one of those scenes right now. You're both in this hallway, this corridor in the Gatherer's Lodge. Bafridana is coming from something. Bafridana, what would you be doing for most of your days? What activities would you be going from one to the other in?
Probably, I would imagine it's expected of her that she does some training, right, each day. So she would probably come back from doing exactly this.
All right. So you're walking through the hallways with your leopards at your side. Underneath your veil, of course, you're sweating because you just got finished training through a rigorous series of katas and imaginary combats, and fending off ambushes that aren't there and all that. And then directly in front of you is Xochitl. Xochitl, what do you say when you see Baflidana?
I kind of just stop a little bit, and as usual, kind of seem a little bit hesitant to talk to her. But finally, I say, "Oh, hi, Bafridana. I was just wondering if maybe you could, help me a little bit with my technique, because I'm not really sure. Take the spear out, like the way that you hold it like that, like when you're charging, and I kind of wait for her to respond, looking a little bit embarrassed at my feet.
I would nod and actually turn around again, going outside to show her some moves. And while we're doing that, she would say very calmly, "When I'm not fighting my husband, I'm just like you. You know that, right?"
What do you mean? You're not like me at all. I mean, I saw you fight
like
that
you,
dragon.
soft and easily hurt.
Don't be ridiculous. I mean, you're nothing at all like us. You don't have anything to be afraid of at all. I mean, I saw you tore that thing in two. The two of us were just, we'll be lucky if we survive for 5 minutes out there. You don't have anything to worry about.
You don't see her lips being pressed together to like a thin line, but she just stays silent from that moment on, because she actually seems to be a bit hurt or misunderstood if you try to read her, and she just continues showing you how to grip your spear and do the attacks, and doesn't say anything more from her, or coming from her at least.
I kind of like, stick with the awkward silence for a while, and then finally I'm like, the food's actually pretty good here though, isn't it? I mean, it's not the worst, right?
It is sufficient.
I kind of like nod, go back to the awkward silence for a while.
I love it. Perfect. So, Question for you, Malbas. As we skip ahead from that scene, and we're back to the crowd, before the gate to the Hanging Gardens, is the camera moves around to where you are, and it levels just beside your face, catching you by profile. And Malbas, what would you have been doing these last couple of weeks? Would you have tried to interact with your two comrades as well? Would you have been a loner? What exactly has been going on with you?
After the Drake fight, I imagine Malbas would have thought how he could use his glass blowing to help, because the one thing he remembers is that he couldn't see shit. So, well, maybe I can use glass to shield my eyes or something. And then Malbas has probably been talking to Bafidana and Churchill to see if they had some issues that could be solved by his skill. Because, that's what he's good at.
What we're going to cut into is we're inside one of these glass-blowing shops that the gatherers provided for you inside their lodge. There's no light, because if you have the sunlight coming in, it can interfere with the actual colors of what you're doing, right? And you have this liquid molten glass behind you, and these, not forges, but something very simple to forges. And you've called both Bafidana and Shochil here this evening. As you both entered, it's sweltering hot. Bafidana, underneath your veil, you begin to sweat almost instantly. Shochil, we can see the beads just appearing above your brow. You smell the smell of sulfur, of copper, of mercury, and of various molten metals, and of course glass as well. It is dark in here, and the only other person in here, illuminated by the glow of the molten glass, is Malbas. So do you guys say anything to him when you first enter? Malbas, do you say anything? What happens next?
I just look at them kind of sideways and usher them closer. While I focus on my craft.
I would step closer. Not looking too interested, of course, but checking out what he's doing.
How do you work in this heat like this?
I'm kind of used to it. I really don't feel it anymore.
What are you making?
Well, I grabbed two little pieces of glass little balls of glass that I had prepared before, and break them in front of them both. And I pick up two pieces that could fit in front of the eyes, and I say, well, remember that Drake fight? We couldn't see anything. I mean, well, I'm sure nodding at Bafidana, you could see or feel because, well, you load the thing. Well, I couldn't see anything. I threw my spear in the dark, and I think that was more detrimental than helpful. So I'm making, protection, I guess. And I pick up the pieces of glass and put them over my eyes. And it's kind of what they use anyway to shoot our eyes. So that could be helpful out there. That's what I've been thinking these past days.
I pick up one of the pieces of glass. Is there like a fire here? Because you're heating the glass up, so I guess there's a fire around.
Yes.
So I kind of sort of hold the glass out into the fire and then pull it away so that it's got ash and soot on it. Well, that's a nice idea, but are they just going to get covered with ash and soot?
But we can clean them in ways that we can't clean our eyes. We can clean them faster, I think. It's just an idea. I'm trying, Maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll suck. So we don't know.
It's an interesting idea. And I kind of rub the soot off of the glass and hold it in front of my eyes, kind of peering through it, and then hand it back.
You are a crafty man. This will help.
I appreciate the compliment.
As Bafidana gives her, as usual, very frigid response to you and what you've been working on, roll me a d12, Nico. Oh, you're muted? I didn't hear you. 12. You have 12 sets of these glass lenses that you'll be able to use when we go into the Heaven Burned. So you can notate on that your sheet And the
A
camera
lot
pulls.
of glass would that can be broken into our
Yes.
eyes.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Get hit by a
Like-
dragon and then be blinded just out of nowhere.
Naked except for like the glasses, and then just like
She's a Liberian
Clown
dragon wife.
dragon.
That's what she does. Perfect. I love it. But no, the camera turns back into the flames, and then the flames become the half sun. And now we're looking down on this massive expedition, getting ready to go inside of this gate to the Hanging Garden. Shola steps to the side. You people know what to expect from the Hanging Garden. Specifically, this is the Hanging Garden of countless obsidian bells. As in, every single thing that you find in here, as per the legend and as per the knowledge, I assume, is all these trees of this massive forest, I should say, of almost stupid large size, is just covered in obsidian bells everywhere that ring out. And even now, from inside the gate, you can hear the tinkling sound of bells coming from the inside of it, as on breezes from foreign lands. Because you know that the Hanging Gardens, they also lead to places not inside the heaven blessed, nor the heaven burned. They are a creation of the gods, provided so that way you can hunt through them to feed the heaven blessed. But he steps to the side, and he indicates, and the gatherers begin leading group after group inside into this gate of the Hanging Gardens. Do you guys do anything before you enter?
I'll just check all of my equipment, make sure that I have everything that I need. I guess I'll take one of these, pairs of glasses from Malinabas just in case, and slip them into my.
So you would have the pairs of glasses, and you would have a spear, and you would have a dagger. But in terms of like rations and everything else, they're giving all of you virtually nothing, because the goal is to survive on virtually nothing.
Got it. So, all right. So, all right. I see. So, I would have my spears, my net, and bow and arrows, but no rations.
Correct.
But I would also have my armor and things like that as well.
Yeah, you have your armor and you have your glass eyes.
All right.
And then the other two of you, are you guys doing anything before you enter into this gate?
I would actually wait for the other two, or 4 with my lepers. Or no, the lepers can stay behind me, but the other 2 to go first. And I say, again, very calmly, I'm not as useful as you are in this area. I will stay in the back to not interfere with you.
And do any of you two respond to that, or you just head ancestorily into the gate?
I guess it'll feel nice to be useful for something for a change, but I don't think you're useless.
Be grateful for not having to fight a husband. Go.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we're gonna have to fight one now, but I'm sure the time is gonna come sooner or later. You remember that lesson, the first one?
I fucking hope not, says one of the big burly bastards on this expedition, and then he's gonna just move past you guys and head into the gate.
So she'll kind of nervously adjust the buckles of her armor. She's not really used to wearing armor. She kind of like shrugs her shoulders around and it checks her bow and heads in after him.
And then Mabas, do you do anything, or you just head in as well?
I just followed them. Well, follow Shushu.
Perfect. I love it. So the 4 or 5 of you, I should say, enter into the gate, and the camera turns, and it's facing the gate as you, Bafidano, are the last one to go inside of it, of course. And the 3 gatherers are left alone there, and the oldest one, Shololo, lowers his head, and he taps the side of the gate, and it turns black, and it closes completely. And we're staring at nothing but a wall of intricately carved jade with heliographs burned into it. And then as he turns and he walks away, that is where the session is going to end today, the first session. So I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope people who watch this and will watch it will also enjoy it. And looking forward to see where it goes. So that's it. We'll go ahead and transition out, and I'll catch everyone else later. So close that.